Hey everyone, how's it going? As you can see here, today's video is going to be a book haul. Well, I tried. Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Ellias, and today I'm doing a first official book haul video. It's almost been a year exact since I filmed like a latest book haul dedicated video. I made a promise to myself in 2019 that I would not be buying any books at all for 2020 unless it was from an author I absolutely loved or from an ongoing series. Clearly, this video itself can attest to that promise. So the books I'm going to show you guys today aren't just books I just purchased recently from like January until like literally a week ago. So it's a lot. So before we officially start, I want to mention that this video is sponsored by Disney Book Group. So this video is sponsored in anticipation for the upcoming release of The Tower of Nero by Rick Riordan. This series basically follows Apollo, the Greek god, who is cast out of Mount Olympus. However, there's a certain twist. He is now no longer a god, but a legit human. A mortal, not even a demigod, a mortal human being. So to get his place back on Mount Olympus as a god again, he has to seek assistance alongside with the help of mortals and demigods alike. So you guys can go ahead and start and catch up on this series before the 5th and final book comes out on October 6th. I remember reading the books, Percy Jackson, the series, as a child. I would literally call Percy Jackson the backbone of my childhood reading experience, basically. I remember taking the books everywhere I went, in the car, to the grocery store, everywhere. And now I'm thinking, now that I have the majority of the books, Rick's books in my collection, I kind of want to do a dedicated video just reading all the books in the series, Percy Jackson series, the spin-off, the Apollo series, Magnus Chase, and King Chronicles. I'm not too sure because they revolve around different mythologies. But if I do, then that's huge. I think it'll be really fun. So we'll see. It's a commitment, but I'm willing to do it because I thoroughly enjoyed the books and I want to get immersed back into the world again before the TV show comes out, because the TV show will be based on Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, the series. I am really excited for this too. I've heard nothing but great and fantastic things about the series, especially the premise of former god now being a mortal teenager and having to ask for help. So thank you again to Disney Book Group for sending these my way. Alright guys, with that being said, let's go ahead and go straight into this book haul. We're going to start with this box right over here. These are all the books that were sent to me. They're ARCs and finished copies. So I'm gonna be, hold on. Alright, so the first one, One by One by Ruth Ware. So this one was sent to me by Simon & Schuster. Ruth Ware and I have sort of a complicated relationship, you might say. I really did not like Turn of the Key. I thought In a Dark Dark Wood was alright, but I loved The Death of Mrs. Westaway. So, not sure if this will be the deal breaker or not, but this premise primarily follows a group of people who are stuck at some lodge after an avalanche, and things start turning deadly when they get picked off one by one. This sort of has this similar feel as Agatha Christie, and Then There Were None sort of a situation here. So I will be reading this book along for the Literally Dead book club, Kayla's book club, as well as my book club. So we're joining forces, and for the month of October, we will be reading this book. If you guys didn't know, I am co-hosting a book club, my own book club. So bizarre to say, along with 2 other people, and I will leave a link to that video somewhere here in case you guys are interested. We have already started, and we're currently reading The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So our last show for that will be on Noelle's channel. So if you guys are interested, again, all the deets and information in that video. Next up is We Were Restless by Cole Namagatsu. I'm a very simple person when it comes to buying books. All I need to hear are a few keywords, a few, hot phrases. Bam, I'm here for it. That's it. You tell me that, this is perfect for fans of Maggie Stiefvater, The Raven Boys, and Neil Gaiman. Here for it. I don't even need to hear what this book is about. That's all. This one is about a group of 3-4 friends who each have their own secrets. A friend of theirs has died in a lake that no one can find except for one of the friends. So this sounds really weird and dark. Sort of has this quiet fantasy element that I love in books. So this sounds right up my alley and I can't wait to read it. So it does come out in October. This book, along with every arc that I'm about to show you, was sent to me by Source Books. Next is 5 Total Strangers. This one is by Natalie D. Richards, and this one follows a girl who gets a car ride from her seatmate in the airplane, along with 2 other strangers in the car, and she realizes that every one of them has a deadly secret. And if she wants to get out of this alive, in like this snowy setting, what does she have to do? She'll have to uncover these truths about these strangers before the nightmare drive turns fatal. Clearly, I am so great at synopsis. Next is The Girl Who Wasn't There. So this one is about a girl who sees a kidnapping. Across the street, she also sees another girl witnessing the kidnapping happening. However, when she goes to, confront the girl as to what's happening, she finds out that there is no girl. So again, we have a woman in the window situation here. Sounds very intriguing, relatively short, my cup of tea. So this next arc is Cover Your Tracks, and this one follows a pregnant woman who escapes an avalanche with an army ranger in the back of a train, and everybody dies. Things take a turn when she starts to uncover some secrets from this mysterious army ranger, and she's also like 8 months pregnant. So this sounds really intense, sort of like a survival thriller, and I haven't read a lot of those, so I'm really intrigued. And this one was actually sent to me by Turner Publishing. So we have all the arcs out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys some finished copies. So I want to show you guys some of the short books that Tor sent my way, and a lot of these, surprisingly, are actually really short. I was kind of a little surprised at first because I didn't realize how small or how short some of these books are until I realized that a lot of them are actually novellas. I think I have a really soft spot for short books now because some of these sound incredible. So the first one, oh my gosh, this one sounds insane. Out of Body by Jeffrey Ford. I'm getting A Nightmare on Elm Street vibes from this one. This one follows a librarian who, after the trauma of holding a dying girl in his arms, he begins to astral project in his town. However, he realizes that not only can he astral project, but the serial killer, who is over a century-year-old, can also see him. So this one sounds intense and creepy, and I am here for it. This one sounds like this is my type of book right here. I'm getting strong A Nightmare on Elm Street vibes from this one, and I can't wait to read it for the month of October. So the next one are 2 books in the same series, and this one follows a man who lives in the woods, and these woods are full of magic, full of naiads and dryads. That's pretty much all I need to know. Actually, I've heard fantastic and great things about these 2 books, and they're so short. These are the type of books I can just read in one sitting. So this next one, Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones, also sounds intense. This one is about a group of teenagers who want to play a prank at a movie theater that involves a mannequin. However, that mannequin comes to life and starts killing them. That's it. That's it. This is the book of the year. Less than 200 pages, and I'm here for it. Last and not least from Tor is The Empress, Assault, and Fortune by Ni Vo. Fun fact, the author is actually writing one of my most anticipated releases of 2021. So the book is called The Chosen and the Beautiful, and all I needed to know was that it's a Great Gatsby retelling in the same vein of The Night Circus with the queer Asian American character. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. That's all. That's the tweet. Even though it's not a tweet. That's it. Anyways, we were supposed to talk about this book. It's about a young handmaiden named Rabbit who befriends the Emperor's lonely wife and gets more what she's bargained for. That's pretty much all I need to know. But purely got it because of the cover. Because cover porn. So, thank you once again to Tor for sending me all of these titles. I will be doing a future reading vlog with all of these books, so keep a lookout for that. So a lot of the books that I'm about to show you guys, even though I have accumulated most of them from like the beginning of the year till now, a lot of them are actually used because the most comments I get, the most like sort of ask speculative question I get in the comments whenever time I do a book haul or something like that is, how do you afford so many books? What are your tips and tricks? And honestly, I live in an area where local used bookstores are super relevant. They're just everywhere here in California. Like in San Francisco alone, there's like, I believe like 10 plus used bookstores that you can go to. And in my area, there's at least 5. So I have plenty of options. And also not just local bookstores as well, but you can also go to like thrift books online. There's also various different websites besides like Book Outlet that you can use. So I got a bunch of used, musty, crusty paperbacks at the used bookstore. So this first trilogy is Tales from Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. Not sure I'm pronouncing that right. I've been looking for this edition specifically everywhere, and I found it at a used bookstore in Campbell. So the reason why I was looking for this is because I watched the movie, the Studio Ghibli movie, and I fell in love with it. It was so dark. I think it's one of the darkest Studio Ghibli films out of all the movies that they've produced, but I loved it. It was so dark and a fantastic time. So I wanted to read the books the movie was based upon, and I love these editions. And I thought the paperback edition would be a lot bigger, but they're just these tiny little paperback editions, and honestly, I'm in love with it. It sort of remind me of like my old school, sort of that whimsical, magical books I had to read, sort of like the Lord of the Rings era, if you get what I mean. So, next, I picked up a bunch of old school Agatha Christie paperbacks. Don't know too much about these because I actually have never read an Agatha Christie book before, like ever. And I call myself an avid thriller mystery reader. So I'm going old school, going OG. So many thriller mysteries these days are based sort of on her like bestsellers. There are like movies being made about them. So I just wanted to give, myself a little dose. I picked up her less popular books. So in order to like avoid the hype, because I literally know nothing about these and they're really, really short as well. Also love the aesthetic and the vibe that these have. The next is this edition of The Catcher in the Rye. I don't know if you guys can see that. I saw this edition and all I saw was this rainbow and I was like, I gotta have it. I also have never read Catcher in the Rye. I feel like I missed out on a lot of like classics, and also I can call myself a reader who's read a lot of classics, but I feel like I missed a lot of the important ones. So I don't really know too much about this. Actually, I really don't know what this book is about. I've heard, the name, I've heard it being read everywhere in schools, people talking about it, but I actually don't know what it's about. So the next book I picked up, Five Children and It's by E. Nesbit. E. Nesbit is one of my favorite childhood authors. I read a lot of her work when I was a kid, and I really loved this whole series that she's written. It revolves around a sand fairy that these kids find in the sand on a beach that grants them a wish, but that wish expires after sunset, and the things that they wish for during the time that they're living in is just really peculiar and really interesting. It was just a different time. It just gives me like this vibe that I can't really get anymore from other books. The childhood favorite, classic. I urge you to read this if you haven't already. And while the cover is really ugly, the only reason why I got it is because of the story, and also it's a Penguin edition. There's just something about Penguin classic editions that you just gotta have, even if the front cover itself is pretty ugly. So the next set of books I got are fantasy, and perhaps the most popular. They are The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I've heard so many things. Everyone loves this series. Everybody. It's like the OG series that you have to get into if you read high fantasy. There is George R. R. Martin, Brandon Sanderson, Robert Jordan, and I realize it's not just men who can write great fantasy, but everybody freaking loves the series. So I was supposed to buddy read this with a friend, Blake from Blake the Book Eater, and I'll leave his channel down below, but these came in too late. I do plan on picking them up and doing a reading vlog, because together, it's very intimidating. I found this trilogy at the bookstore because I was keeping an eye on it, and I heard his name float about here and there on BookTube, and the reviews on Goodreads are astounding. They are the City of Stairs. I don't even know what the series or trilogy is called, but the whole trilogy was there, and it was relatively cheap. You can tell from like the stickers. Some of them was like $5. I think this one was like $6. $7. Also, one good thing about some of the used bookstores here is that you can always sell your books back to them, granted at a lower price point at which you bought it used, but you can either get it for store credit or cash back, which I think is a great system. All right, so we're sort of going into a horror stack now. The next book I picked up is The Haunted, Simply the Haunted by Bentley Little. This one sounds like a generic haunted house story, but I picked it up because I was at Target and I saw the cover, and I was like, I've never heard of you before. What are you about? It is what it is, like what I said. It primarily follows a family who moves into a new house that's haunted. So, I mean, I'm here for it, for a haunted house story, for a good haunted house story. How many horror movies are about haunted houses or houses that are possessed or whatever? Countless, right? So, and they're all, unique in their own charming way. Some of them are actually really bad. Hopefully this is not the case. The next book is The Troop by Nick Cutter. This one follows a group of boys, I think Boy Scouts, who go into the Canadian wilderness only to have something ravenous and hungry onto their campsite. This really sounds campy and really fun. Kat from Paperback Dreams and Kayla from Books and Law both love this book, so had to pick it up. So the next book I picked up is Clown in a Cornfields by Adam Caesar. This book was so bloody. It had the highest body count in a slasher YA book I have ever read. I already read this book. I thought it was a really great, fun, bloody time. It's not something that you can just objectively analyze. I feel like it's just one of those things like, have you ever heard of a slasher film winning an Oscar or Academy Award? Not really, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have some of those qualities sprinkled throughout, said movie, whatever. This is just a really fun, entertaining time. I really highly recommend it, especially for October. It's about a girl. She moves to the small town with her dad, and of course, what do you know? She goes to a party and murder and the fun begins. Because in horror, slashers are like one of my favorite genres to watch and read. That sounds like right up your alley, where people are being sliced, diced, shot at, burned, chainsawed, everything. Everything you could think of, it's in this book. So this book was a wild time. Just going to this, having the mindset of just having a fun, good time. This book reminded me of going to like a Halloween haunt, you know, at an amusement park with my friends. So the next book is Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Powers. All right, so I already read this one, and suffice to say, I actually did not like this book. I get that it was weird. It's supposed to be weird. It's supposed to be like out there and uncanny and super like mysterious and everything. I just didn't vibe with it. There were too many plot holes for me specifically to just glaze over and just like pass along, and just too many questions that weren't answered for me, especially at the end. A lot of people really like this book. Rory Powers is a really prolific author. She's written another book that was really popular called Wilder Girls, and I haven't read it yet, but I do plan on picking that one out. I just didn't like this one. And you guys will hear more of that in a reading wrap-up. So the next book is also a horror book by Stephen Graham Jones, and it's The Only Good Indians. This one sounds fantastic. It's about a group of Native American men who are being hunted by a creature they killed in the past. This creature comes back to life and starts hunting them down one by one. From the cover, I'm guessing the creature is some sort of deer. Just heard it's bloody and fantastic and scary. Stephen Graham Jones is an Indigenous author, and he writes a lot of horror books, so really looking forward to this one. So the next book I picked up, Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. I actually have seen this book quite a while, around, you know, in bookstores and everything. I didn't really pick it up because I didn't really know what it was about. The cover was enticing though. And then I opened the book and read the flap, and all I saw was Stranger Things meets Scooby-Doo and the Hardy Boys. Again, euphoric, boom. I was like, you know what, I don't even care. I'm not gonna even read what this book is about. I just heard those key phrases and I'm here for it. I'm a simple guy, that's all. So this book primarily follows a group of kids solving mysteries. The end. The next book, also by the same author, is The Supernatural Enhancements. This one is interesting because this one has one of my favorite tropes in it, where the main character receives a letter inviting him or her to this glorious mansion where they find out that they're inheriting either the whole mansion or some huge aspect or part of the will, without knowing why. As you can imagine, only bad things start from there. This story follows the main character who goes to the mansion and he finds out that it's heavily haunted. And the story is told in a different format of like letters, newspapers, I believe, and journal entries. And it's been a while since I read a book that was told in a non-standard format, so really interested to see how this goes. The next book I picked up, I screamed when I saw this at the used bookstore because I've been looking everywhere for this and I just couldn't believe my luck. This book is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This one is a memoir, actually. At first, I didn't know it was a memoir, but Hannah from A Clockwork Reader was gushing about this book and I was like, you know what, I had to have it. From my understanding, this is a memoir, but a thriller. It's told in these different segments, all involving this dream house. So I'm really curious and interested to see how that plays out. All right, the next book is Bunny by Mona Awad. I don't even know how to start explaining this book because I have to give this book props for surprising me in sort of like the best way possible, but the weirdest way possible. Anything that you can imagine thinking about what this book is about, you'll never come close. Never! It was so weird, and it was something that I never would have expected, and I feel like you think you know what you're going into, what you're going to read, but you don't. You just gotta have to read it. I'm just gonna give you the basic premise. If Mean Girls and The Craft had a baby, this would be this book, you know, with a dose of Alice in Wonderland. So if, you know, that doesn't entice you, I don't know what will, because this one was so weird and so out there, but the writing was just really great at the same time, and I really enjoyed this book. Everything about this book was bad, good, and weird all at the same time. So again, more on that in a wrap up. All right, so the next book I picked up is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I actually started reading this book, but I just put it down because I wasn't in the right mood for it yet. But I do plan on picking it up because this one sounds phenomenal. It's about a group of people who starts to develop these certain abilities where they view the city as living entities. That's pretty much all I know going forward and all I got so far in the book. The next book is Sin Eater by Megan Campisi. I already read this book. It was not good. This one is about a girl who eats people's sins, and how she does is basically she's like a priest. She hears their confession and then she eats the foods corresponding to that particular sin. While it had a really great premise, I think overall it really felt really flat for me personally. Yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say about it for now in this book haul. I saw this at the used bookstore and the cover looked enticing. I thought it would be like another Poison Study type of story, but it was altogether radically different. So the next book I picked up is My Year of Rest and Relaxation. So I want to read a literary fiction book that's like really funny and sort of like dark, you know, because all of the books I've been reading so far in literary fiction are either really emotional and really draining and really heavy, and I just wanted something super light and just super funny. So I hope this book does that for me. So the next two books I picked up, also by the same author, With a Fire on High and Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I don't usually venture into YA contemporary anymore, but I've heard nothing but fantastic and great things, and I decided to, why not go ahead and pick two of the books up. And also the cover inside, I was surprised to see that they have like this sort of glossy imbuement. That's not a word, but we're gonna go with it. So the next book I picked up is A Kata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor. This one follows a girl who starts to develop these strange powers and abilities. And all I know is that it's set in New York, along with a magic school. I'm a huge sucker for magic schools and dark academia type of stories. What else is new? I heard nothing but great things. So hopefully, you know, there's a reason why all the books that I purchased or got were books I heard because they were good. So the next book I picked up, and there's a story behind this, is Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. So everyone and their mother has read Toni Morrison except me, which is a crime. So I've been eyeing like several editions of this particular book for a while now. There were two editions. It was this one, and the other one had like a rainbow. So my memory card filled up. So I've been eyeing this book for a while, but there was a certain edition I wanted. It was either this one or the one with the rainbow on it. I'll insert the cover here. I know that this book follows a man who lives in Michigan from his birth to his adult life. So I stumbled upon this edition one day, just browsing through the bookstore. I couldn't believe my luck. This like edition is like so expensive when you look for it. It was just right there and for a great price. So I just picked it up immediately. This is like an older book too. I believe this one came out in 1980. I believe. I want to start off Toni Morrison with this book, and she has written so many other books as well that I do want to plan on reading. This cover is just so much better than the original cover that they have. Alright, so the next book I picked up is Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Whitson. So this book is really short. I was really surprised when I received it. I've also heard phenomenal things about Whitson's work. So from my understanding, this book primarily follows two families and the ordeal they have to go through when two teens from the two families conceive a child. I also have a reading vlog idea that involves this book, so watch out for that one. The next book I picked up is The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. What drew me immediately to this book was the cover. So if you guys didn't know, I majored in graphic design. I graduated this year, and from a graphic design standpoint, this book is chef's kiss. It has everything I find super sexy in a book cover. It's so simple, like the color palette itself, the way everything is aligned, the fonts, chef's kiss. So this book is based actually on a true story, and this book primarily follows two boys who are sentenced to a reform school in Jim Crow era in Florida. This one sounds really emotional, and the struggle of being sent to a reform school. I've heard this one was just phenomenal. I think Times named it one of like the best new books of the decade. So the next book is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. So you guys, the Netflix movie just came out, and I feel like the Netflix movie and the book itself are like two separate different entities. They don't belong or align in the same universe, like at all. I felt like the movie was just, it was so weird and different, like a different type of weird from this weird in the book. If you watch the movie, I think you'll understand what I'm trying to say. It just didn't have the same vibe as this book, because this book to me was like more horror, more like gut-wrenching and like tight, while the other one was just really drawn out. It's very creepy, romanticized in a way. I feel like if you really like the book, you might like the movie like on a different level. But I personally like the book better because horror to me is like great up there. He just did this in a different genre and different take, and I thought it was really interesting. Like if someone took Star Wars and made it to like an alien horror movie or something like that. But this one primarily follows a boyfriend and a girlfriend who drive off to the boyfriend's parents' house where the girlfriend is supposed to meet them for the first time. However, things take a turn when they get stuck at a deserted school, and everything goes downhill from there. This one was super intense. I really enjoyed it. Can't say the same for the movie. The movie itself is just on a whole different other level. After a battery change and 2 memory card changes, 2 books left. So both of these books I actually have read and finished already. The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So I love Jennifer Lynn Barnes. She's actually like an YA author. I always look forward to her books. I love her Fixer series and the Natural series. This one primarily follows a girl who, again, one of my favorite tropes, inherits house and the wealth of this multi-billionaire when he dies, and she doesn't know why. She's never seen him or met him before. The family of this billionaire including 4 hot grandsons, are just astounded and they don't know why. So it comes to this like sort of games of riddles and mystery and puzzle solving. And this book is marketed as Cinderella meets Knives Out. Honestly, that key phrase, this cover, Jennifer Lynn Barnes, all piled together, I thought it would be a fantastic read. I went in with really high expectations actually, and I was ultimately let down, but not to say this was like a bad book or anything. But more on that in a wrap up. I enjoyed it for what it was. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Finally, we are down to the last one. Ladies and gentlemen, and my non-binary friends. Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin. So I already read this book, and let's just say I gave the first book, 5 stars. This book did not get 5 stars. If you're friends with me on Goodreads, you'll already know what rating I gave this book. But more on that in a wrap-up. So this one, again, is the second book in a trilogy, I believe. It was supposed to be a duology, but you know how those go. They always get pushed back to trilogies and whatnot. Soon the trilogy will become a quartet, and the quartet will become a full 7-book series. We'll see. I'm just kidding. Suffice to say, I did not enjoy this book as much as the first one. So there's that. So, you guys, let me know down in the comments below your thoughts. Please let me know if you enjoyed or read any of these books. I would love to know. Thank you again to Disney BookRut for sponsoring this video, and that's it for me. I will see you guys all soon.